Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Trilogy. I grew up listening to both classical and pop music. I can remember only having 2 LPs, With the Beatles and Tchaikovsky's 1812. Some people are purists. They think that rock, with its basis in American musical forms, should not be mixed with music in the European classical tradition, but they might not notice how often it has been done successfully. I liked ELP doing pictures at an exhibition, doing variations of Mussorgsky's themes, mixing them up with original pieces, and adding some of the organ-bashing, knife-wielding, squealing feedback showmanship that had become Keith Emerson's trademark. The serious rock and classical aficionados hated the showmanship, but what really got me was ELP's version of Nut Rocker. But there were bits I did not like about ELP, and there were some bits I hated. The maudlin Greg Lake acoustic song on their first album that Keith Emerson made worse with a daft Moog lead line, and the whole of their second album that just all sounded the same to me. I had liked Emerson's previous band, The Nice, who had fused Bach and Dylan, played Tim Harding's Hang On to a Dream as a moving jazz piano piece, turned Bernstein's America into a psychedelic pop single, and released a suite of classical pieces with an orchestra. On Trilogy there is a Greg Lake solo acoustic song and a jazzy acoustic piano piece with a very melodic vocal, but they always seem to feel the need to give everything the corporate stamp by piling in with the Moog, the organ and some hard-hitting drums. Keith Emerson's Moog synthesizer was a revelation at the time, like he was taking it forward from what the Beatles did on Abbey Road, but now it seems very dated, reminiscent of Son of My Father, and Abbey Road has hardly dated at all. I think I lost interest in ELP after Trilogy. On the next album, Brain Salad Surgery, it seemed to me that they took all their noisy, bombastic, showy-offy tendencies as far as they could go. Everything louder than everything else in the show that never ends. However, the thing that separated Emerson from the prog keyboard pack was that not only was he influenced by classical music, but he actually arranged classical pieces for a rock group. One of the reasons that the Trilogy album for me hits the sweet spot is their arrangement of Hoedown from Aaron Copland's Appalachian Suite. Now in my twilight years I would probably prefer the original, but back then I would always have gone for the rock version, and I probably only know the original because of it. They later had a hit with a version of Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man, which they gave a bouncy triplet beat. The other thing about Emerson is that whereas the other prog bands seemed to shy away from the blues, he embraced it. He had a solo hit single with Honky Tonk Train Blues. This made ELP more like a heavy rock act, pumping out head-banging riffs. The blues mixed with the classical made him more like John Lord of Deep Purple. This album ends with a bolero, and I am always a sucker for a bolero. Trilogy, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.